Well, we are going to try to tackle one of the greatest debates in 6-Scale community. That is, are Hot Toys too expensive? What's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel for another special video. Today we're going to be tackling this dangerous question of, are Hot Toys too expensive? Very interesting question, right? Big debate within the 6-Scale community. But we'll get into that in just a quick second. I do, of course, want to say thank you to each and every one of our 2,000 plus subscribers. Yes, we're officially over the 2K mark, and we are just a few away from that elusive goal of 2021. So if you've not done so already, before the end of this year, go ahead and subscribe to that channel. I would certainly appreciate it so that we can be done and finish talking about that. But go ahead and give me a presumptive like on this video. I would certainly appreciate it. So let's get into this today. This whole topic comes from an interesting little adventure I had this weekend. I actually went to the movie house and decided to go see House of Gucci. And there was a really interesting quote that Aldo Gucci makes, and it said, you know what? It reminds me 100% of Hot Toys. Aldo Gucci said, "Quality is long remembered, long after the price is forgotten." Now that's something that's very interesting, especially when it comes to 6-Scale collectibles, because 6-Scale collectibles are the high-end tier of collecting. So it comes with a price tag, naturally. But the big question that people always ask, especially nowadays, are Hot Toys too expensive? So we're going to try to answer that question today by taking a little bit of a look into how Hot Toys are actually made. Remember, it was the Joker who said,
"If you're good at something, never do it for free."
So how are Hot Toys made, and what exactly goes into the cost? Believe it or not, it is a rather extensive process, and although a lot of the things are shrouded in mystery, we do know that there are costs involved with the product themselves. And if you happen to have one of these boxes here, you can find out that there is an entire team of people that work on these products. Now we'll talk about the art boxes in just a second, but I love how it always shows who is a part of this team and what goes into it. As you can see that there's painting, there's sculpting, there's engineering, there's accessories. There's lots of things that go into these products. This isn't just something that is just thrown together and put on a shelf for mass consumption. This is something that is truly a work of art. But before you can even start any of the process of being able to put out these wonderful figures, you first have to obtain the licenses. And that means that there is cost attached to that as well. Just like with anything, such as a driver's license, a license gives you the opportunity to do something. In this case, it gives you the license or the opportunity to produce a product or good with someone else's name on it. That being Marvel, DC, Star Wars. Hot Toys has to pay for the license, just like you pay for your driver's license or fishing license or whatever it may be. Now, once they have those licenses, you can start legally making money off of somebody else's name, such as Star Wars or Marvel or DC. And so when you have those, you can then start producing the figures. And that is where we get into number one, the biggest piece, in my opinion, of what causes Hot Toys to be so expensive, that being the sculpt. If there's anything that Hot Toys has cornered the market on in the 6-Scale community, it is the uncanny ability to capture the likeness of actors and actresses within these films that we love. But believe it or not, these are not digitally scanned, these are not made by computer, these are all handcrafted, which is art, which does take time and which does take manpower. And of course, naturally, you have to pay people to do these things. And look how intricate some of these sculpts are. Let's take a look through here at this quick slideshow of everything that goes into the sculpt, from the sculpting, from the rendering, to ultimately getting it to paint, and ultimately then getting it to the final product, which then lands eventually in your hands. So once you have that master sculpt, and once the designer has officially approved it and signed off on it, and all the licenses have officially said, okay, this is good to go, then you can put it into production. And once you have that master mold, and then you have mass-produced versions of it, it then requires hand painting, which is incredible because it's not going through a machine. There are actually people attached to the end of brushes that are painting these things. So you are getting a true work of art. Look at the details that go into these, from the irises to the skin texture, figure. All these things are hand painted, which is incredible to think about. They even say that one head takes 2 weeks to do. So this is not something that is just out there that you just happen to stamp, put it in a box, and throw it onto a shelf. No, this requires a lot of fine tuning, a lot of skill. And whenever skill, just like I said with the Joker, you never do anything for free. You have to pay these workers to be able to produce this. So in order for us to get an amazing product, you do have to have someone help produce it for you. But what good is a head sculpt if it's not attached to a body with a wonderfully detailed outfit? I mean, you look at this Mysterio right here, and it has so much detail that goes into it. And somebody had to help create that too. From the tailoring, from the sewing, to the molding of the different types of plastic, from being able to put LEDs to give us our cool lightsabers or glowing effects. All those things require time, effort, and someone helping assemble it. Now, I'm not a seamstress by any means or know even how to thread a needle, but I do know that my mom and my sister have sewn some things for me growing up, and I know how tedious it is trying to sew a button back on or a pocket or a patch. Imagine how much more complicated it is to sew it on something that is of this size. And you look at how detailed some of these threads are and how amazingly, immaculately it is done and sculpted. It's impressive, and to know that somebody is on the other end doing that makes it that much more impressive as well. You go and have a look at some of the stitching on some of your 6-scale figures and know, wow, this is something different. This is a work of art, and of course, there is a cost that's going to be attached to it. Now that you've paid for the license, you got the head sculpt done, it's been painted, it's been applied to the body, the amazing costume has been intricately applied to the figure. Well, it's not like it's just going to be able to sit on a shelf, right? You have to be able to put it in something, and that's where these amazing art boxes come from. And somebody has to pay to design this as well. From the way it looks, from the way it opens up, from the way it's properly displayed and designed, there is stuff that goes into that you're not going to get on a mass-produced figure from Walmart or something along those lines. Something went into this, and somebody's skill and talent has to be paid in order for us to have it. So now that the figure has been put together and packaged and put into the box, you have to distribute it, right? Yes, now you have to get these into the hands of you and me. So you have to pay distributors, you have to pay people to be able to ship these out to the people that are getting them to you. And there is cost established with that as well. So let's break all these different prices down. We've talked about the licenses, we've talked about the sculpt, we've talked about the tailoring, the packages, the boxes, the distribution. All of that has cost attached to it. So is it really that much to say that Hot Toys is charging some fair amount of cost for their product? You certainly have to wonder, and I think that it is fair to say that what they are charging and what we are getting is definitely fair, because there are so many steps and layers that go into it. Now the question has to be asked, of course, is that price point right for you? And only you can answer that question. There are some people that decide, hey, you know what, I would much rather buy a cheaper figure and get a lot more of them, as opposed to maybe getting one figure that looks great and you put on your shelf and you say, that is part of my collection. Whatever your budget is, that is what you need to decide is up to you. Do not let anyone strong arm you into saying that this is more important than the 6-inch figures that you pick up from your store. Whatever you collect for you, and that is the most important thing that I can say. So in closing, I think it is true that Aldo Gucci was correct. If it was good for Gucci then, it is certainly good for us today, and that is that quality is long remembered, long after the price is forgotten. So as you make investments into these figures, remember that you are getting quality and you are getting the best available figure that is on the market. Well, that's going to do it for us today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've learned a little bit of something. And if you've not done so already, I hope that you can subscribe to this channel. Go ahead and give me a like. I would certainly appreciate that. And leave me a comment down below on some of the goals and some of the things that you're looking forward to collecting in 2022. Our next video up will be my top 10 figures of 2021. I cannot wait to share that with you, and I will be seeing you in our next video.